Unhealthy relationships. This is something I know a little bit about and hold near and dear to mine heart. But I've only realistically been in one relationship that lasted any length of time. The other ones were only a couple months at best, and they didn't have the same gravity the one had. And ultimately, in my opinion, the failure of that relationship lies solely with me. And that's a difficult thing to reconcile, that you are not who you thought you were. Because in my eyes, I should have died. I should have given my life, and I didn't. And there's a million justifications I can come up with as to why I didn't. At that point, the relationship had already begun to show cracks, and things were very unstable at that point, and I had begun to have doubts. But nay, nay, I cannot accept that. I I failed, and it's taken me 5 to 7 years to even. I don't even want to say get over it, because I don't want to get over it, and I don't want things to stop hurting. And maybe it sounds warped, but maybe I have a romantic vision of love where it should hurt. It should hurt forever. And I mean, that's extremely unhealthy. I actually, and this is very, very unhealthy, I weigh the amount I care by how much I am willing to suffer. Never do that. And if you have those feelings in you, I encourage you to dissuade yourself from them, because nothing good can come from it. It is something wrong in your own mind. But I find a certain degree of romance in that. Like, I read things like The Sorrows of Young Werther, and I am moved by them very, very much. And I like saccharine things to begin with. I like that type of stuff. I like Care Bears. They're As a child, I thought Ewoks were caveman Care Bears. Like, I really liked Ewoks because I thought they were underdeveloped Care Bears, because I knew Star Wars took place in a long time ago, because that's the first thing it says in the movie. And so, in my like 3 or 4 year old brain, I thought the Ewoks were caveman Care Bears, and that over time they would develop into Care Bears. But this isn't about Care Bears. This is about unhealthy relationships, and why I feel I deserve to die. And that's that part of why I'm even doing this, because as I have probably mentioned multiple times, I do not like attention. I do not want online friends, but I do think I have valid things to say that would ultimately be helpful for certain types of people, uh, especially people that are disenfranchised and damaged and so forth. And I have destroyed my life. So, if I'm not going to throw my life away on that love, it should serve some kind of purpose to someone else. And, you know, get busy living or get busy dying. So that's like part of the reason I'm even doing this is my dedication to that relationship. It's pathetic. I know. You don't you don't need to tell me. But what can I say? I tend to put the idea of love very much on a pedestal. And you know, I even in situations where I do something for someone like on the street and I can need the money. I can desperately need the money and they will money. I'm like, no, no, no. That's okay. It's all in a day's work, ma'am. I have this fixation. I don't care if I like I'm not concerned with morality as far as like the law and the greater whole of society. I think I will always be vilified by that. But I have to adhere to my morality. And ultimately, in that one relationship, I failed to do that. Now, why did I fail? That's an interesting question. And if you ask me, I didn't know I was supposed to say no. Now, I've mentioned before as well that she was in charge of the relationship. I mean, she was more experienced in every aspect of relationships than I was. Um, like, you could even say I'm somewhat developmentally delayed in certain ways. And so she had a lot of control over things. And it never occurred to me that I was supposed to say no to her. Like, I thought acquiescing was like the right thing to do across the board. It's what she wants, it's what will make her happy. So I should just always say yes. And no matter how much it hurts, no matter how much it damages my life, I must say yes. That I should have said no. And ultimately, in my opinion, it cost the entire relationship because my whole outside life fell apart because everything was about spending time with her. In fact, that's largely all I did. I let everything else go to hell because like you're leaving. Do you want me? I could stay. And I did that for I don't know 3 years. So it cost everything I had built in my life. And by the end, even like the stress was so great. Like I had turned back to drugs, which I was on heroin when I was like, I don't know, 18, 19. That's when I started fucking around with it. I drank heavy. I started drinking heavy by the time I was 12. And then when I got into my late teens and early 20s, it turned to OCs and then Oxycontin and then heroin. And that went on till I was maybe 28. And then I dealt with the reasons why I did drugs. But being under the stress of a relationship, I've never seen anything like it. Like, I don't think about drugs. I don't consider myself a drug addict. I mean, I have an addictive personality. Probably evident in the way I'm describing my behavior in a relationship and my inability to say no. But the the strain I felt was so great that I remember we were on the couch watching Train Spotting, and there's a scene in Train Spotting where Renton says, and at this point, me, Sick Boy, and Spud made a democratic decision to get back on heroin as soon as humanly possible. It took about 3 hours. Uh, and that clicked something in my head. And I was like, we're gonna get back on heroin. We're gonna start robbing drug dealers. Now, I never really made money robbing drug dealers and like robbing for heroin and stuff because like I wasn't like high powered or anything. I was like a junkie, um, and I just didn't want to rip off normal people. So, like, don't get some kind of glamorous idea in your head as to what that means. Let me dissuade you of that. But I don't think about liquor. Like I used to have a problem with drinking when I was a kid. Like I couldn't stop. I could not stop. And by the time I was 16, I was drinking a liter of hard liquor every single day. By the time I was, 18, 19, I was drinking a 1.75 at Jim Beam every single day. By the time I was 21, I had quit drinking and moved on to heroin because once you truly have a habit, there can only be heroin. And so, getting lost in the drugs because I have a lot of drug talk. I should probably talk about that again. But the I don't think about it. Like it's not part of my life. But the stress and the strain, like that relationship falling apart, placed on me, I couldn't deal with it. Now part of me wonders if like the I went back to heroin because I knew it was going to destroy everything. And like at this point, like internally, I knew this wasn't working out. And like I wasn't strong enough to say no. And I knew I was hurting her as well. And that really bothered me because I didn't want to do that. In fact, like toward the end of the relationship, I said, if I had known how things would work out, I would have just spared you the pain. And I mean that. Like for everything it meant to me, uh, if I knew, I would have spared her the pain. Like I never wanted to hurt anyone. I really don't like hurting people. It doesn't do anything for me. Like if someone is hurtful to me and trying to hurt me, I may lash out at them or something like that. But you know, I don't I was around a lot of people growing up and in my life that were true sadists. They derived sexual pleasure from inflicting pain and humiliation on others, uh, in myriad ways. So I was never one of them, but that was my environment. So I wanted to be like one of them, and I tried very hard to, and it just I lied to myself for a long time. Like I tried to pretend like I was into it, but like the glee I would see in their eyes, it always terrified me. And by that point, I just didn't want to be the one being hurt. So I never liked, and especially when it comes to people I care for, like I would much rather have me be hurt. That's just how, like, that's what I feel should be done. Um, I am intimate with pain, so I should be the one to take it. And you can't always take pain for someone else, and that is one of the most powerless feelings I've ever felt when someone else that I care for is hurting and I can't do anything about it. Uh, it pierces me to hear women cry and children cry. Uh, like women rapidly learn that I easily manipulated with tears. No, no, don't do that. Don't do that. I can't because I associate like I cried a lot as a child, and then as I got to be like 14, I just stopped crying. And the only times I've cried since then, she got me to cry once. Uh, this lady, she she could manipulate my emotions like no one I've ever seen, and she saw it right from the beginning. I never had that experience with someone else, and I admired her for it. Like, to me, it showed that she knew me in a way that no one else did, and she sized up the situation very quickly. I remember the first night we were together, uh, what she said to me, and I she understood, and I've never seen that before. So I admired her ability to manipulate me. I honestly thought it was cute as well. Like, it turned me on. And because, like I said, it showed she knew so much about me and she could read me so easily. And, for better or worse, I don't even remember what my point was now because it's a lot of heavy topics to me. But that I know I was talking about the relationship falling apart and the strain and turning back to drugs, and then how much I admired her ability to manipulate me and bring emotion out of me. Because it's something everyone says. Like, I'll laugh, but that's all I'll ever do. And it's quite literally been beaten out of me. I don't have the ability to do those things. I feel like I want to cry almost all the time, like in the back, but nothing ever happens. Nothing, like, there's just nothing there anymore. I can't do it. And I spent a lot of time trying to fix it and telling myself it's okay and all that jazz, but there's just nothing there. So what she could get out of me, it was like a sign to me. It was like, this is meant to be. And the fact that I couldn't make it work, uh, it the universe seemed to be wrong. And I remember this feeling from when I was younger. Like, I would always tell people, never get out of sync with the world. Like, what is that's all that can be. So come to terms with it, reconcile it, be okay with it, because things should not be some other way. This is the way they are. This is the only way they can be. And in this case, to me, the universe felt wrong. And that's a difficult thing, at least for me. I know this is getting so long and boring now at this point, but and I mean, I really don't even have a point other than I'm not sure healthy relationships exist. There's a line in Rocky. It's about gaps, and your gaps and the gaps in someone else. You like try to find someone that will make a whole. But I also have come to see, like, two damaged people cannot fix each other, and we were that, certainly that. But regardless of, like, she might have had more control in the relationship. She always wanted me to have more control in the relationship. Like, she was always like, be a man, damn it. and and the capacity of a relationship, I just didn't understand. Like, I had never been in one. Um, my mind was not set up to do that. No one taught me anything in life. Like, that's I'm a feral child. So I used to always she lived out in the suburbs, and when she'd call at night, it's like, did a skunk knock over your garbage can and you couldn't stop thinking of me? Um, but two damaged people cannot fix each other. And I would caution people, but we're talking about pretty extreme forms of damage. See, everyone has stuff wrong with them. Everyone, what they are putting forward themselves to be is what they like to be. That's not necessarily what they are, and in my experience, it's never what they are. There was an old pop psychology book called The Mask of Sanity. And like people wear a mask outside, and if you could see what they are behind closed doors, they're not who they represent themselves to be. An example I always use with this is the prettiest women spend like an hour or 2 hours getting ready. And if you're spending an hour or 2 hours getting ready every day, like that speaks to a profound insecurity because it takes a lot of motivation, it takes a lot of effort. So if you're that motivated, anyone that feels that kind of motivation must feel a powerful need to do this. And usually that kind of motivation is coming from something we feel we're lacking. You see it a lot with bodybuilders where like they're talking about their calves or this muscle or that muscle, and it's like no one notices but them and possibly other bodybuilders. But The Mask of Sanity, I never read the book, but I really like the expression. So I would caution two damaged people can't fix each other. And in every situation in my life, I've never been able to appreciate the moment. It's always too hot or too cold. It's only looking back that I can appreciate what things were. In a relationship, I am always smothered. When I'm out of a relationship, I'm always lonely. Uh, I have never been able to, and I don't think it's in human nature to truly like achieve that level of appreciation constantly. Otherwise, like you just stop moving because you'd be content. The that emptiness is what drives people, and you know, so unhealthy relationships, are they all unhealthy? All of mine have been, but that's probably not a good yardstick to measure things by. Like my life is never something where it's like this. This should be the standard. I'm gonna shut the hell up because this has gone on far too long. But take it for what it's worth.